Hello there, everybody out there. It's time for some extra Type 40 here for you on the Spacebook channel with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and my lovely new haircut. I've literally just raced from the barbershop to the mic and to the webcam here to reveal it all to you guys in all its splendor. Yeah. It's been a long time coming, but at last I am shorn of my locks. What do you think, Sarah?
I think it looks brilliant. You've got the tenant quiff going when you turn to the side.
Is it still? Yes, it's more obvious from the side, isn't it? Yeah. I keep saying I had the quiff before David Tennant. I'll have everybody know, but he's holding it a lot better than I am. I think he's got a lot thicker. It must be the Scots genes there. They do tend to have quite thick hair, don't they? Thick head of hair, the Scots.
Yeah, well, look at Capaldi. He's got amazing hair.
It's very, very true. Whether it's short or long, it still always looks spectacular. Talking about spectacular, you look lovely again this time. You look a little you look cherubic, almost like Velma from Scooby-Doo there in the orange. Have you had a good week?
It's been pretty good. Yeah, it's a 4-day week because obviously we had the bank holiday.
Yeah.
I love it. You can see my window. Look, we've got sunlight today. So yeah, very happy, very good week. I went to see Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Tuesday night, and it was brilliant fun. Just Jim Carrey's just amazing. Yeah, I had a really good time. Yeah, and they've set it up for a third movie as well.
Yeah, it is. I think spring has very much sort of sprung, but I did get the impression it was sort of going away again, and every time I go out I'm dressing for the cold weather, and if I'm out and about or something like that, then the sun comes out and I end up too hot as well. So it's a very strange time at the moment here, but as always in Great Britain we talk about the weather virtually non-stop. It's only a cliche because it's true, everybody. It's only cliche because it's true. Okay, so on the last Type 40 Extra, thank you, by the way, everybody, for all the comments yet again. The last video that we made last week about the whole Twitter thing with Elon Musk, Sarah. That was quite a week, wasn't it? And we've had lots of comments from that.
It was. Yeah, I really enjoyed reading all the comments and hearing what you guys thought.
We're a week on now, and of course but one thing we forgot to do on the last show though was we forgot to plug your Twitter, because you are back on Twitter, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I've been back on a week now. Yeah, it's gone so quick.
So how have you found it?
I love that picture. Honestly, brilliant.
Have you noticed the difference?
I've definitely noticed the difference. Everybody just seems to be having much more fun. It just feels a lighter atmosphere. I've been, chatting to some old friends, made some new friends, and just enjoying geeking out about things. And Doctor Who, obviously, but all kinds of things. I was talking about Donna's Superman earlier today, and just having a good time. It's nice. It's really nice to be back.
See, I'm in Doctor Who mode at the moment. So when you said Donna's Superman, I imagined Donna Noble as Superman. God, dear, somebody help me. So if you do want to go, yeah, we've heard of the Dr. Donna, not the Superman. Yeah. Donna would be something completely different. So if people want to find you on Twitter, where can they get in touch with you? Where can they connect with you?
You can find me at, well done, nice little plug there, at Starry Eyed Girl. Yes, I did try to get Starry Eyed Girl, but it was already taken. Somebody else had the good idea. So this is the next best thing. I had to get the Who in there. So yes, please come and find me, give me a follow. We can have a chat and a laugh. I'm trying to post things, that make people laugh. I do get into some more serious discussions. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but generally I'm just on there, just to have a good time.
To have a giggle, just like we do on these Type 40 Extras, don't we? Yeah, life's too short. What I like about Twitter as well, I follow a lot of accounts that share old bits of TV trivia and movie trivia. Sort of retro things, retro pages from CFAX even. Sometimes the Doctor Who ones pop up, so you get the little sort of 3-bit sort of Daleks and things like that. So I follow all that and old copies of things like the Radio Times, Radio Times covers from years gone
Yeah,
by.
the covers, yeah. And I was
Yeah.
looking at some old photos of Classic Who. There's been a lovely one on today about Planet of the Spiders, because it's the anniversary.
Really?
And also I saw this really cool effect shot. It was Blake 7. It was a ship. I think you might have seen
the
it as
London.
well,
Yeah.
Yes.
That was our friend Spacecrafting over on Twitter. Go and follow that account. I think whether you're a Blake 7 fan or not, if you just like sci-fi, why wouldn't you like Blake 7? If you're into all that old spacecrafts as they used to look in the pre-digital age, because he has rebuilt the London and he's shooting it, isn't he, from different angles.
Yeah.
Old school style, but incorporating it into completely computer generated backdrops. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, it looked amazing. Yeah, I couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah. I have had a word with Spacecrafting about getting him on the show, onto Teleport, our Blake 7 show, because we have recorded a couple of those, but I'm looking to make videos of them too, rather than just slideshows, proper videos. Oh yeah, that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, go and follow Spacecrafting, and you can see his video of the London 2022 style. It is spectacular. But that's just one of the joys of the creative side of Twitter. If you know which accounts and which words to mute, you can enjoy the nostalgia with us. And yes, while I remember, I told you I was in a rush. While I remember, please like this video already, because we're having so much fun already, aren't we? You'll have forgotten by the end of the show. So please like the video. It does help more than you think. Subscribe to the channel for more, whether it's the videos like this, whether it's the live streams, all the podcasts. There's more about the podcasts a little later. Any of that stuff, you don't want to miss any of it. So yeah, subscribe to the channel. It's the only way to make sure that you get all the notifications when you turn on the cluster bell there, the little bell-shaped icon in the corner, and you'll get everything Type 40 plus everything else. And yeah, don't forget to follow us on Twitter too. Yeah, I'd like to sort of big up the Type 40 Twitter account a little now, because it's somewhat wanting, I think, for a show. Our shows get all these literally thousands of downloads and streams, and yet we're sitting at sort of 300 followers on Twitter. I think we could beef that up a bit, can't we? Particularly if you're watching this video, if you've got a Twitter account, shoot over to the Type 40 Twitter account and we'll get some stuff going on that. We'll see if we can get some exclusive content on there and little snapshots, little bits of our Doctor Who lives, maybe some fan art and all the rest of it. We're going to bring that to life a little bit more if you go over there and follow us on Twitter. Yes, I was mentioning the Radio Times a moment ago, Sarah, and I don't buy the Radio Times anymore. It's something like £3.50, £4 a week from what is basically a TV listings magazine. Yeah. It's insanity, isn't it?
I haven't bought it since Christmas 2017.
What happened then? What could it have been? Yeah, I get the picture. Now, I used to buy multiple copies of the Radio Times whenever Doctor Who was on the front cover, just for my, partly out of OCD. You know what I mean. Everybody out there, you know exactly what I mean. OCD, I've got into the habit of buying one or two copies, one to read and one to keep pristine in little poly bags to stop them from having babies, of course. So that's what I would do. And the latest era has well and truly sort of cured me of that habit, of that compulsion to do that. But I did wonder if you'd seen this, because it's the BAFTAs, the British Academy of Film and Television Awards, this coming weekend, I understand. And yes, it has made the cover of the Radio Times. And I wondered if you'd seen this.
Yes, I have seen this on Twitter.
So this is the pregnant form of the outgoing Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker there, and it says TV's Night of Stars.
She looks really lovely there. She's absolutely glowing. There's going to be no,
she does
no jokes about anything. I can obviously detach from character to actor. She looks lovely. Good. Well done to her. She's hosting it.
Well, you would. Now that is not an unreasonable question. Yeah. Because you would think, why is Jodie Whittaker on the cover of this? Could it be? I mean, the cynical part of me would suggest that it's maybe there to exploit Doctor Who fans who have that OCD thing that I've got, that compulsion to buy multiple copies of this magazine because of its long-standing connection to Doctor Who. And I did wonder, what's the state of play? Is Doctor Who up for any BAFTAs? And no, not a single one. And it's not an unreasonable question, Yeah, not a single one. No. And so you think that's a natural question that you asked. So is Jodie hosting this? Maybe, a bit of representation for a pregnant lady there on stage. Why not? Because it says there on the byline says Jodie Whittaker leaves Doctor Who behind to head up the BAFTAs glamour and glitz. So, okay, so she will be, but no, she's not hosting it either. So
She's not.
No, she's not connected with it in any way. I don't know. I'll leave you to draw your conclusions for that. It is a lovely image, but I suspect that this is there to exploit Doctor Who fans who will buy. Theoretically, they're right. We used to buy absolutely everything, didn't we? We buy anything with Doctor Who on the front cover. But I think this era has well and truly cured us of that. But this is, if you do still pick up the Radio Times, obviously, and if it's your TV guide of choice, it's in the shops right now. Yeah, Jodie looks lovely on that, and obviously we wish her every bit of happiness and luck with the arrival of her new baby, whenever that may be. But I think it's the Radio Times is not the magazine it was. It has to be said. And whilst I'm a traditionalist and I'm fond of the brand, when they exploit their punters like that, it's not really on, is it? Especially with a cover price like that. But speaking of Jodie Whittaker, I wondered, since you are back on Twitter, I wondered if you were aware of this week's sort of obsession within the Doctor Who fandom, because believe it or not, it's on screen. It is in a couple of months' time. We're actually heading up to the 1 year point since Jodie Whittaker announced that she was leaving Doctor Who. That was on the 29th of July, 2021. Believe it or not, it was a jubilant day, wasn't it, Sarah?
It was indeed. I'm not going to lie, it really was. It was like, yes.
At the party poppers and the bunting out and all that kind of thing. So it's an evening that none of us are ever going to really forget. And of course, Russell T Davies, his return to the show was confirmed just a short while later. And we haven't really heard a dicky bird ever since, really, have we? There's been very little to go on. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, Sarah, but for me, after this era, it's been quite intense. Not necessarily what's been on screen, because there's been less on screen than ever, but the whole conflict around the show, the conversations that have happened around the show have been mildly exhausting.
It's definitely stepped up a gear since the announcement that she was leaving, and then it stepped up, this year, especially after the Sea Devils. Because now we're into that kind of like home stretch, if you like, of, the centenary special, and they're actually going. So, I think the pace has picked up. And I think there is still areas where you still get your kind of hot spots where, there's arguments and things. But generally, I've been trying to
stay clear of that.
Yeah, stay clear of that. It's not I mean, as much, I am looking forward to her leaving. There's no doubt about it. But I'm not actively searching for things. I've got other things to look at and enjoy.
Well, exactly. Focus on the things that you enjoy, and this obviously you're still entitled. We're all still entitled to express our opinion, as I say quite regularly. But there's other things going on in the world, and I'm looking at this time as a little bit of respite, really, from it all, to cleanse the palate and to preserve my enthusiasm and my open-mindedness about everything that Russell T Davies could do with the show, because it is absolutely wide open, and I don't care what anybody claims to know. I think that the only people who really know what's going on are people actually contracted there at Bad Wolf in specific departments and obviously under NDAs, and Stephen Moffat. And that's probably about it. Anybody else who claims they know, it's just stuff and nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everything is so. Silence is essential at this point. They've got, and obviously RTD's been around a bit. He knows how it works. He knows how the publicity wagon works. It's not his first rodeo, so he's going to be taking every precaution he can.
Well, I suppose that Russell, Julie Gardner, Phil Collinson, And of course, Jane Tranter's there too, and the guy I can never remember from Sony. You know, obviously they're very successful in their own right. So they won't just have learned from everything they did 15 years ago, longer than that, 18 years ago. They won't have just learned from that, but everything that they've learned in between on the multiple projects that they've all been across, not only here but on the other side of the Atlantic. When Julie and Jane were in LA, they will bring all that knowledge to this production. And obviously they'll be more than aware of what's changed in the marketplace since then. So I think literally anything could happen. And I'm excited about that. But I get the impression that with a lot of the fan base, it just makes them quite antsy and is driving them slightly nuts. I mean that. I mean that in an affectionate way, because I do understand that need, that absolute need to know what's coming next. And I think it's the same, whatever side of the aisle you're on, about the gender swap, about the ideology that was running through the Chibnall era, and that seems to be quite pressing at the in-house at the BBC at the moment. Wherever you sit on all of that, it's a universal thing, and I would never take the piss out of anybody for simply wanting to know what's going to happen in their favourite show. No. But where I do think it strays over the line is where people within the community and content makers and people on social media running social media accounts claim to know more than they do. That's where I think danger lies. Because obviously some people have got reaches of like tens, hundreds of thousands of followers, and they put out images like this. Now, I'm not going to name the place that this came from, but here we have a graphic that's doing the rounds on Facebook and Twitter, which got the TARDIS tumbling into the time vortex as seen in the current Jodie Whittaker episodes there. That's quite a new graphic, and the Whittaker TARDIS. We have the BBC, the official BBC logo in the top right-hand corner. I think, well, that looks very, very official there, doesn't it, Sarah? And then those big letters there, May 14th. Something is coming. Something is hurtling towards us. And it must be true, hadn't it? Because it says BBC in the corner. So what do you think about this?
I think it's a very good copy.
Which is the right answer, of course, everybody, isn't it? It's
that BBC logo isn't quite right, and it's nice try. So where on earth has May the 14th come from?
Well, I wondered that too, because wherever I've been, and this is across social media and the Type 40 accounts, I've noticed that it's only 10 days until we find out, only 2 weeks. You know, people have been saying with certainty that in this period of time that something big is going to be revealed, and they seem very convinced about all this. And I've been had a nose around, and there is no substance whatsoever that I can find behind this May the 14th thing. Now, what it seems to hinge on, believe it or not, I looked at the calendar and thought, what exactly is happening on May the 14th? Why are they so convinced? May the 14th is a Saturday. Yeah. Saturday evening or whatever else on the TV. So May the 14th is a Saturday, and it is, and this is what people seem to have latched onto. It's nothing that Bad Wolf have said, nothing that BBC have said, and it's not actually any leaks. The reason why people are obsessed that it's the 14th, it's because of these two events. The Eurovision Song Contest, which is taking place in Turin this year, and the FA Cup final. Did I say that properly? Football fans out there, I don't do sport. They're both taking place on Saturday, May the 14th. And both of them have live coverage on BBC One. So they will be monopolising the day on the UK's still biggest TV channel, I suppose you could call it. Are they the biggest, or is ITV the biggest? I don't know. Still pretty big. Certainly the biggest BBC channel. So all day, these two events are being broadcast solidly live. Again, so you're going to ask me, where does Doctor Who come into it, aren't you?
Well, because of the previous announcements, but big but here, and I know we've discussed this before, Dan, that's the BBC's way of doing it. This isn't the BBC anymore.
Exactly. This is the thinking, as you've quite rightly said. The thinking is, because the last time they announced a new Doctor, it was in the middle of an international sporting event, a live sporting event.
It was the Wimbledon final, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. People who are trying to sort of see patterns in things and who've only got a memory, it seems, that stretches back for 5 years at the most, have convinced themselves that it will be bang square in the middle of Saturday evening. There is no substance to it at all. As you've correctly said, it's simply because the Jodie Whittaker announcement came during the middle of the Wimbledon Cup final. When was that? That was on the 16th of July 2017 when Whittaker was revealed as the 13th Doctor. That was on BBC One in one of their little sort of breaks in between play at Wimbledon, and they dropped it at the same time, didn't they, on the BBC's YouTube channel. So yeah, people are convinced that because of that, that it means that May the 14th is the date. But let's just clarify for people out there watching, this is not remotely official. And whilst I do understand, you can understand why people get invested in these things, and you can understand why people, it's almost like they want to will it into existence, isn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, and again, I get the excitement, but I just think there's going to be people there sat watching it that might not be interested in football or interested in Eurovision. No. Just on the off chance that there is an announcement, and they're going to be very disappointed. If there isn't, I mean, if there is, we'll do a video and say,
"Oh God, yeah," and I'm as keen.
But I can't. I do think it will be soon. I don't think it's going to be this soon, but I do think it will be soon.
Some of the thinking behind it was that Doctor Who has this large following of gay. I don't want to use the LGBT. I don't want to use the alphabet term, but Doctor Who has a large following in the gay world, doesn't it? And so does the Eurovision Song Contest. So the people were assuming that put those two things together, and you've got an amazing Saturday night, never to be forgotten. But I think that is woolly thinking in the extreme. Doctor Who is still not just a family TV show. Predominantly, I think people do forget that. I think a lot of Doctor Who fans, whatever their sexual orientation, they forget that it's a mainstream family show. But more to the point, Doctor Who's just as big as the Eurovision Song Contest in its own right, and particularly if, okay, maybe it isn't at the moment with its current profile on television, but as an intellectual property, I feel that it is. And if Bad Wolf and Sony have the plans for the show and for the brand, Sarah, that I believe that they have, they're thinking a lot bigger than the Eurovision Song Contest. I think they're looking at elevating it back up to the same sort of standard as not just the others of the big two, so Star Wars and Star Trek, but maybe even shooting to make it as big as something like the MCU again, as one of those big tentpole franchises that can really sort of power culture again.
So when we discussed it before, you've said that you think it's more likely to be an announcement like James Bond, like announcing the James Bond, because it's that, for Britain, that the brand of Doctor Who is up there with James Bond. It's of that caliber. I mean, like you say, it maybe isn't at the moment, but the actual brand itself, it definitely deserves a press release, and everything that goes around with that.
Yeah, I can't see them. The ball game will completely change. I feel, not just because Bad Wolf are involved, because they are. Okay, they've only been around since, was it 2017 that Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter founded Bad Wolf? So. Still quite new, but obviously they're industry professionals. But I think with the involvement of Sony, I think that they're aware that they can step back onto a global stage and trumpet this and make it look like it is still, I wouldn't say fake it till you make it as such, because Doctor Who has been the biggest show on TV, Arguably, when Russell and Stephen Moffat initially, the first couple of years that he was running it, probably was the biggest show on TV for a couple of years. And there's no reason why it can't be again. But I think they have high hopes for this, and I believe that if you start as you mean to go on with an international worthy press call, as you say, the equivalent of when they reveal who a new James Bond is, or when they just announced that they're even shooting a new James Bond movie or a new Star Wars movie. That's a statement of intent. Doctor Who is back. After 5 years, Doctor Who is back. And you will sit up and pay attention, because this is going to be the biggest thing and you're going to be along for the ride. Which is, to be fair, Sarah, that's how I felt. I mean, looking back over the last few years, the pattern of revelations, announcements of the most recent Doctors, there's been no actual pattern to it as such, as they've all been quite different. So Matt Smith, he was announced as the 11th Doctor, believe it or not, on the 3rd of January 2009, an unbelievable 13 years ago. That was in a special edition of Doctor Who Confidential that they broadcast. They snuck it out. It was in the listings magazine there, and it sat there for about 2 weeks just as Doctor Who Confidential Special, and they didn't tell you what the content of the special was going to be. I think that would have been the Christmas and New Year Radio Times edition. So it was a complete secret. Do you remember?
I do remember it. I remember being amazed.
Yeah. I think I read something on Gallifrey Base about it. It was speculation, but you didn't think.
Well, there's always speculation.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember with Capaldi, it was like he had his own show. It was like announcing a rock star when he came out.
That's how it felt.
It was Zoe Ball Interview.
Zoe Ball hosted that. Yeah, that was pretty much dead centre. That was in August of 2013, of the anniversary year. So they gave it that. It was on for about 30, 40 minutes, wasn't it, with Zoe Ball fronting it, in front of a live audience as well.
Yeah,
must have been nerve-wracking, and it was sensational to watch that go out. Do you remember it being broadcast? Did you sit and watch it?
I did, because it was on the 4th of August, and that's my son Zach's birthday. So it was his first birthday party, and we had family around, and I just had to nip to the other room and put the TV on so I could find out who it was.
I'll never forget it, how because obviously with these things, both Capaldi and Matt Smith's names have been spoken about it only the 24 hours before, and I remember seeing they focused, didn't they, the camera on just his hand there. That's all you could see initially.
Yes.
You could see it was an older man's hand, I think, and there was strobe lighting coming through the curtains and things. It was beautifully made program. I think Rufus Hound was on it, wasn't he? And Peter Davison and a couple of other people. But again, 4 years later, when it comes to announcing Jodie Whittaker, it's completely different. It's just a 60-second sizzle reel, I suppose people call them, a teaser trailer, wasn't it, of the actress in a forest, because of course that was filmed under total secrecy, wasn't it? Secrecy, I mean. I think it was shot by who shot that now? It wasn't Jamie Magnus Stone, was it? It was somebody. It was a guy, the same guy who directed her first episode. I can never remember his name. He's a good director. I don't think he's on the show anymore. But that trailer, that was almost iconic, wasn't it? I mean, whatever we feel about what went down that day, that was another one of those moments where you sort of never forget where you were when you saw it. Never forget the slow draining of all sort of enthusiasm. It happened over three or 4 seconds. I felt the colour drain from my skin.
I remember it well. I remember being on the phone to you straight after.
Yeah, so but they're all completely different though. I mean, the secrecy was there with Whittaker, arguably because they couldn't have done that live, because in front of a live audience of Doctor Who fans, they were aware, I don't care what they claim, they were aware that the reception was going to be divided. And so why put their actress in that situation? Why put that on live TV? And I get that. So we got that short film instead, which I said, I'll hold my hands up and say that has become, that reveal of her taking her hood down, that was low-level iconic for a little while. It's passed into history now, largely because everything that followed it was such a massive disappointment. In fact, looking at it now, I think it was downhill from there, really. Why haven't they traded off that this entire 4 years with the hoodie and everything? Because that was almost an iconic look, wasn't it? They just abandoned it.
It looked a lot better than the clown outfit, definitely.
Good God, yeah.
My heart sank a little bit because I always, to me, the Doctor's male, but I didn't think it was the be all and end all. It was the next trailer, the glass ceiling trailer, as it's known.
Yeah, that
When
was
she
the
pulls
one.
that
Yeah.
stupid face. That's the one where I thought, oh no.
Well, yeah, and all joking apart, the reason why it's failed, it hasn't failed, even though the Doctor is a male role, and I will die on that hill if I absolutely have to, and therefore the best people to play male roles, I'm sorry, are always going to be men. I don't see what's a controversial statement about that. But the thing is, in retrospect, her era hasn't failed, and that characterization hasn't failed because Jodie Whittaker is a woman. It's failed. It's failed because of the ideology behind it. It runs way, way, way deeper than that. Because it doesn't mean to say that you can't put any woman in that role and they won't be able to reach it. But Jodie Whittaker couldn't reach it. She couldn't convince. But yeah, those to get those feelings of nostalgia about simple announcemements, it goes to show just how much Doctor Who means to us, and how our senses get heightened at times like that. So the people who are on social media and out in the fandom, because not everybody's on social media either, there is an anticipation around what's coming next. So it's completely understandable that everybody wants to know. But it is unfair of some to make out that they know more than they do. And I think it's almost criminal, really, to make your graphics seem official and to sort of raise people's hopes.
Yeah, I just don't think it's very fair, and especially when fans are going to be searching for things like that, just to pull the hopes up. Yeah, it's definitely unfair. And like I say, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, whether you're a Jodie Whittaker fan or not, it's not fair on people. And yeah, and I think you should be very careful about what you make look official, because the BBC are notorious for clamping down on anything. We've even had it with fan art, haven't we? So yeah, I'd just be really mindful. And if you are on social media, just take everything with a pinch of salt. That's all you can do, really.
Yeah, it's great advice, because obviously the BBC logo, it is a trademark. It's copyrighted. Yeah. People can't just use it wherever willy-nilly, and there'll come a time where I'm sure the BBC will be clamping down on things like this, and I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of a letter like that. That's for them to worry about, obviously. But yeah, don't believe anything that you've heard. If it is May the 14th, I'll eat my words, whatever. I'm not saying it won't be. It's, of course, there's every chance that it could be May the 13th, the 14th, the 15th. But what I'm suggesting is that it's just as likely to be, I don't know, June the 14th or May the 22nd or any date. This means absolutely nothing. So yeah, Sarah, you said it perfectly. Take with a pinch of salt. I wanted to have a look at this too. Doing a bit of research for this, I found this picture. This is the photograph when Tom Baker announced that he was leaving the show back in 1980. There, playful look on his face as I think he's in a taxi there, and that was 24th of October 1980. Tom Baker leaves Doctor Who. Hard to believe, isn't it? Now he's so involved in it still.
Yeah. It's just it warms my heart just seeing that smile and just seeing it in the paper when you remember. Yeah, it was newsworthy.
It's a big deal. I remember it, and I was very confused because Tom Baker's leaving Doctor Who, but that means Doctor Who's ending, doesn't it? Funny what you what you think, isn't it? Because growing up, obviously, I'd only ever seen Tom Baker. He'd always been the Doctor, but that was 1980. So that was after season 18. Season 18 was still airing, and I think it was the day after Janet Fielding was announced as joining the show. So I'm not. I think that something was on the verge of being leaked there, Sarah. I can't believe that was ideal. So JNT sort of hastily arranged that press call there, and because I think he was at Madame Tussauds, because there was two That's right. There was 2 Tom Bakers there, wasn't there? There was one of Tom
Yes.
as the Doctor and one of him as Megalos with the spikes. Have you seen that?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that photo. Yeah, it's brilliant.
But why I wanted to mention that is because it ties in nicely to an episode of Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast that we've just dropped on all the podcatchers and here on the Spacebook YouTube channel. Yes, it focuses on the brand new book by friend of the show, Richard Molesworth, the John Nathan Turner Doctor Who production diary, 1979 to 1990. That's just been published this very week. Richard was kind enough to come back onto the show and talk to myself and Simon Horton at length about this book, about how it came into being, where the idea came from, how on earth he managed to make his way through that mountain of research. We talk about JNT, of course we do, and some of the things that he did. And obviously, as Richard is one of the key members of the team that put together the Blu-ray box sets, he does tease a little about the season 22 box set that's coming out at some point in the next couple of months. And he teases a little about what his favorite special feature is that awaits us on that set when it's released, as well as he joins in with all of our stupid jokes and, and whatever else that will go on that show. So yeah, it's Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast, episode 102. We're delighted to, we're the, I think that's an exclusive video track there. Richard is on camera with us in the video edition that's here on the Spacebook channel now. And yeah, you can get the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, all those places, Spotify, Podbay, you name it, to catch up with that.
That diary is
too good.
That's going to be a real page turner.
Yeah, I'm over halfway through it now. I was lucky enough to be sent a review copy. It is
brilliant.
Extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. I recommend it to anybody. But yeah, there's more details on that, obviously in the show, and it's unmissable. Richard, people asked us when we polled people earlier in the year, Sarah said, what would you like to see on the podcast? And the return visit from Richard Molesworth was pretty high on that list. So delighted to deliver. And speaking of deliveries, back to the current furore on social media. This has also appeared on Twitter. Now, again, take it with a pinch of salt. These letters have appeared on Twitter. There's a guy called, what's his name? Loki Bluebird, who put this out first. And he claims it's a letter from Bad Wolf Studios informing the residents of a street which he didn't disclose. Somebody has since disclosed this on Twitter, but he didn't. He covered it all up. And it is a letter from Bad Wolf. And it says, we had a successful technical recce yesterday. And as mentioned in our previous letters, the purpose of the recce is to establish the requirements of each department to assure all arrangements are in place prior to a filming day. So they're letting residents know that filming of an unnamed drama, actually it doesn't even say drama, an unnamed production will take place in their street over a 5-day period, between Friday the 3rd of June and the following Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, so a 6-day period. There'll be lots of night filming that will finish in the early hours, and they'll be prepping everything in the street the day before. So on the surface of it, yeah, letters are sent out to residents when night filming does take place. So this isn't completely unfeasible. But the thing is, Sarah, there are members of the Doctor Who community that are so obsessed, and I use the word obsessed, I don't use that lightly because it gets bandied about too much, who are so obsessed that they have been known to fake letters such as this in the past. So what do you think about this? Because when you actually read it and think about what goes on when they're doing night filming, this doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. What do you think?
I don't know.
Because obviously people are convinced it has to be Doctor Who. Of course it does. The fact that Bad Wolf also make a dozen other dramas.
It could be anything. I mean, yeah.
Remember a few weeks ago, Doctor Who was supposed to be starting filming on April the 14th, the 15th. That they were convinced of that. That never happened. Now it's switched to this. But what's got me thinking, this is a heavily residential street,
Yes.
and they're potentially filming for an entire week, all through the night until the small hours. I don't think that's legal. I think they're only allowed to do that on certain days of the week. I can't remember the ins and outs of it.
Yeah,
But
I don't think.
and the grammar in this letter is terrible when you look at it closely. Because our filming activity will be noisy. Well, so people are expected, this is potentially dozens, if not hundreds of people who live in the surrounded area, are expected to do what? Go on holiday? Lump it? What? Doesn't seem likely to me.
Well, and if it was something like that, you would get plenty of notice. And would you really have would you have the Bad Wolf logo on top of the letter? Or would
I suppose they'd have to do that, wouldn't they? I don't know. Yeah, I think they probably would. Actually, no, because they would apply to the council, wouldn't they, for permission to do this? So wouldn't the council write to them?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It wouldn't be the count. I'm trying to think of when I've had letters through. I mean, is this the only copy that's doing rounds? I mean, if this is a residential area, where are all the other letters?
Well, allegedly now 2 of these have turned up. But to be honest, the picture that I've seen of the second one looks exactly the same to me. They just haven't blocked off the actual address.
Yeah, I'm going to say pinch of salt on that again. Well, because like you said, I know that there's people out there that do fake.
Yeah, we've seen it. We've seen it before. I remember when Flux was being filmed, there was a prominent content maker, in fact, claimed that it was filming on this precise date, faked an email from one person to another, all in a silly sort of power play to get clout over another content maker it was on YouTube. It was extraordinary to watch that play out.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Let's see what happens on these dates.
Yeah, it's, again, we understand the excitement. That's not what we're pouring scorn on. We just want people to temper their expectations, and we're as keen for it all to begin as you are, yeah, I am excited to find out who's going to be the next Doctor. Of course I am. It's been a long 5 years. But really, I think that if I've got any advice to give to anybody, it would be to enjoy this period. It is the longest period in between the announcement of one Doctor leaving and another one being named in the entire history of the show. Now, you and I know, Sarah, that the reason for that is because effectively New Doctor Who ended last summer. Production was closed down. Everybody was either at the end of their contracts or didn't have their contracts renewed. Naming no names. We've spoken about that before. Yeah, but the show, the production was cancelled. It was, and a new production has been set up somewhere else completely. But obviously there are people out there who are not prepared to accept the fact that anything went wrong at all, and that the show was taken out of production for an extended period. And that is why it's a longer period of time. Obviously, it is with a new production company setting up from the ground up. But I think the reason why people don't understand why it's taking this long is because they can't accept that anything at all went wrong with Doctor Who under Chris Chibnall.
I think there's that as well. That's definitely a valid point. But I also think this is the longest some fans, particularly some newer fans, have gone without no Doctor Who.
Yeah,
I mean, even, me coming in from 2005, there was only really 2016, when there was just that one Christmas special with Capaldi, that there wasn't any Doctor Who, whereas, the old hats, you've gone through 16 years of it. So it's, I think, I think some fans are more patient than the other, and I think long-term fans are more likely to take it in the stride. And obviously, if you and if you know how, the TV industry work. I mean, obviously, we've had it in details from, you know, Russell T Davies when he did his columns, and obviously A Writer's Tale, and all
the
the, you
production
know,
notes.
Doctor Who Confidential. We've been lucky to have all that background stuff, so we know how long it takes, how much planning, how much prep. Whereas I think some fans just don't appreciate that, and it's, you know, I'm not criticizing them. It's just I think it's something we've just got used to, and now it's there's a very like impatient feeling that just, you know, it will happen. Calm down. It will happen.
And it better be worth the wait, big man. It better be worth the wait. We have a new picture here because we're obviously following the story of the Doctor Who Centenary Special. And we talked, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago about the return of Sophie Aldred and Janet Field into the show. And my feelings about that haven't changed. I wish them both well. I'm happy that they're happy. That's, you know, that's about the measure of it, really. And we've got a new picture here of the two ladies in costume, planning, if not world domination, then something far off. Yeah, it's nice to see them there again in character.
It's nice to. That's a much more flattering picture than the one that was in the trailer, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, looks. I really do like Sophie's pinstripe. So that's very. Looks very. You could easily Photoshop Captain Jack and the 10th Doctor's heads on them, and it'd work.
Yeah, it is a 10th Doctorish suit, isn't it? It does seem to me to be. I can't pretend I'm not interested in seeing these characters again. We both just wish it was written by somebody else at the end of the day, don't we? That's where we are with that. Yeah. But what else has caught your eye in Doctor Who this week? Have you been watching anything or listening to anything? Have you been reading anything?
Yeah, I'm still on my series for rewatch. So I'm up to Silence in the Library, and it's just brilliant. Just Moffat under RTD is just unbeatable. It's, you know, it's some of his best work, and seeing River again, you know, having come full circle, it's I did get quite emotional. I've also been watching. I watched the Demons, because obviously it was May Day. It's been a long time since I've watched that, and I just again. I mean, Roger Delgado's brilliant in it. It's you know, the horror elements. It's just it's just so much fun. I'm just really enjoying Doctor Who being fun. I've seen a couple of things about Planet of the Spiders this week because it was the anniversary, and so there's been some lovely fan art and stills and things. And I'm really enjoying the Pertwee era. I'm delving back into that.
It's had a renaissance, hasn't it? The John Pertwee era. I mean, I've said before that of all the eras of the classic show, it was the one that I took the longest to warm to. I think John's take on the Doctor from the outside initially seemed so wildly different from the versions that I grew up with. It took me a long time to understand what he was doing in the part and why, and to really sort of understand the appeal of the unit years, because all that militaristic stuff, that's the kind of imagery that I had sort of gone to Doctor Who to escape from, because, you know, my family, my stepdad and my brother and my stepbrother, they would watch more war movies every Sunday afternoon, things like The Longest Day and all that kind of thing. And they were Kelly's Heroes, and most of them would bore me stupid. If there wasn't a spaceship in it, I didn't want to know. And, there's just all these guys in green with helmets running around all over the place, shouting at one another. It just didn't interest me at all. And so when I found out there was a version of Doctor Who where for 4 years there was a lot of that going on, it kind of didn't wash with me. And even when I was buying the VHS tapes, they were the ones that I would think, oh, another Pertwee story. But over the last 10 to 15 years, I don't know, I think it's successive watches and realizing that what Pertwee was doing in the role was a lot more sophisticated, and it came more from him than I think I'd given it credit for. But you're a bigger reader than I am, aren't you? Are you reading anything at the moment?
Not Doctor Who. I'm reading. What am I reading? I'm reading A Street Cat Named Bob at the moment.
Oh yeah.
I got the Blu-ray for my birthday, so I've been enjoying that. And there's a sequel as well, and the kids are into it as well. So just watching.
Isn't it called a Christmas present from Bob or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I've seen the movie.
We're big cat lovers in this house. So yeah, so I've had
because the film stars that guy, doesn't it? Is it Luke Treadaway, who's our friend Lee?
His name's come up a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's his choice for the Doctor. He thinks he's ace. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, and obviously there is a Doctor Who reference because Bob wears a knitted scarf.
That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. Well, this week I'll be reading something if I can get to my local comic book shop, Sarah, because I did say I would give this a try. It's completely free, so I'm not going to have to pay for it.
Oh, this is the free comic book day? Yeah,
it's free comic book day this Saturday, the 7th of May, International Free Comic Book Day. So the general setup is, if you're not a comic book person, you're just a Doctor Who person. The idea is that every year it's a drive towards recruiting more people, more kids in particular, into taking up reading comics. So it takes place in the first Saturday in May every year. And the idea is to get people into their local comic book stores. And some of the industry's biggest titles have these special one-off editions, Sarah, which are literally free. And when you go in, have you ever been into the comic book shop on Free Comic Book Day?
Not on there. I'll have to go.
They are literally, they don't understock these. There are piles and piles and piles of them, and you can take as many different comics as you like. I mean, I suppose some people may grab 2 or 3 of the same one if they're being. That's not encouraged. The idea is you take one of each. But yeah, it's. I think it's a wonderful initiative. I think it's been going for about 15 years or so. And Titan, who presently hold the Doctor Who comics license, they have put out a Doctor Who title of the last 4 or 5
I've
years.
seen the previous ones. I've got to say, this isn't tempting me, and it's not because of who it is, because it doesn't look. It's not comic book art. I want to see a comic. I want to see a cartoon.
Yeah, I agree. I have to agree that this is the only cover. It's a photo cover.
An action pose. Something more.
Yeah.
This looks like, I don't know, an advert for a game show or something with a really dodgy tie-dye background.
Well, in most comics, you have got a choice between multiple covers now. So a lot of TV tie-in titles, not just Doctor Who, have the option of a photographic cover as well as an artwork cover. But there is no artwork cover for this edition of the Doctor Who comic, and as yet I've seen no interior art either. But the idea is that this issue leads in to a brand new Doctor Who miniseries that launches at the end of May called Doctor Who Origins, which also focuses on the fugitive Doctor there, as played on TV, of course, by Joe Martin. And we have seen some interior art for that. And it's not, I have to be honest, it's not great. This is written by, I think it's written again by Jodie Hauser, who's an okay writer, decent enough, certainly the best writer that's probably ever written for Jodie Whittaker in comic book form. But the art is by Roberta Ingranata, which just doesn't do anything for me. She's obviously very successful and fair play. But yeah, this is the brand new adventures of the fugitive Doctor. They're calling it Doctor Who Origins, which isn't asking for trouble at all. And it's a 5-issue series. And it says that working for the mysterious division on a dangerous assignment, the Doctor uncovers something insidious afoot. Discover why this regeneration became known as the fugitive Doctor. So that's on the way later in the month.
For those that care, because Joe Martin has got a fans, and I will admit,
she has,
I did prefer to Jodie. Isn't this the kind of story that would actually have been better on screen rather than a comic issue
In an
that
ideal world,
not
yeah.
many people are going to buy. Let's be honest.
No, I'm a big comic book fan, and I will pick this up, and I will read it, and I'll give it an honest review, because I mean it. If these things are worth picking up, they're worth giving a day in court. And I read a lot of comics anyway. Well, when I have the time. And Doctor Who has this huge history of in the comic book medium. Almost since it began. So this is a long legacy in itself, and I can't help but think Titan look disinterested in the line to me. I can't believe that they're going to hang on to the license for too much longer. They're probably they are. I feel that the brand is treading water with them until they know what Bad Wolf and Sony are going to do with Doctor Who. And that's why I think they're only putting out a mini-series now and again, rather than having an ongoing book, because as we mentioned on Type 40 Live, the ongoing book has been cancelled like 3 times due to, books don't get cancelled because they're selling well, do they? Due to poor sales. And there's a special due out, several one-shots they've got planned over the next year or so, again, to tread some water. This next one features the 10th Doctor and Martha. It's much more encouraging.
That
the artwork
looks much more interesting. I would buy that.
Yeah, this is written by Dan Slott, who for a time was the head writer on Spider-Man for Marvel, and the art is by Christopher Jones. It's one of my favourite comic book artists at the moment. He has a way of really bringing, particularly on licensed books, he's great with getting the likenesses of actors and actresses and just channeling the energy of Doctor Who. Yeah, the interior art's lovely. So that's coming up later in the year, and I'll be reviewing that probably on a Type 40 Extra. Actually, we'll have a little chat about some of that. Do you want to see a pretty picture?
I would love to see a pretty picture.
To that, because this is slightly unusual. I saw this last week, and I can only describe these as effing old, bloody big doors.
That's the technical term, is it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way of putting it. So these doors, Sarah, just to give you a bit of background information, these are the oldest doors that are still in use in the entire world.
Wow.
And they're in Rome. They were cast in bronze for Emperor Hadrian's rebuilding of Rome, and they're believed to date from 115 AD. So that's old. Each door is solid bronze, 7.5 feet wide and 25 feet tall. And yet, even though they're that old, all this time, they're so well balanced that they can be pushed or pulled open easily by just the one person. So it's spectacular, isn't it? The idea
incredible,
that 115 AD there. So yeah, I thought that was wonderful. But obviously, being a Doctor Who fan, the very first thing I thought before I wondered where that was, don't they look a bit like the TARDIS doors there?
They do look like the TARDIS doors.
That's my appreciation of. Does this make me a Philistine, Sarah? That's what I see in something as beautiful as this.
No, that's just being a fan. You see Doctor Who everywhere.
You're humouring me. I notice you're humouring me.
No, I'm not.
Yes, if you do find anything that's not necessarily Doctor Who related, but looks a bit Doctor Who-ish, what have they got to do, Sarah?
You've got to
send it to us. Exactly.
Send it to us. Follow us on Twitter, and you can send it there. Or email us, please.
Yeah, Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who. You can catch us on Facebook too, on the Type 40 Facebook group or the Facebook page. They get in touch, send us a message.
Any animal pictures, any dogs with scarves, any cats with scarves. Never mind what Ian says. We like seeing animal pictures.
The dafter the better. We're bang up for any of that. And don't forget to leave us some comments in the comments section too. We love all that. There's some really creative stuff that goes on in the comment section. The opening up of ideas and concepts and a bit of banter too. We love a bit of banter here at Type 40 and Type 40 Extra and Type 40 Live. So keep that coming. And please like the video too. If this is your first Type 40 video with us, this is Type 40 Extra. This is our casual, chatty section of the brand. If you like, where 1 or 2 or 3 of us get together for these chats. If you'd like to see and hear more of them, you've got to like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the notifications when you turn on the little cloister bell. I about covers it, Sarah. As
Mm-hmm.
always, thank you for your company. I hope you've had a laugh, had a giggle.
I always have a laugh. Thank you for inviting me. I
And we
hope
can
everybody
find
enjoys it.
we can find you at Sarah is on Twitter at Starry-Eyed Who. So go and follow her there, and you catch me. I'm there as the Spacebook too, the _ Spacebook. You can't miss the underscore there, otherwise you won't find me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thanks to everybody who's been watching this entire time, listening to us rambling on about Doctor Who, vaguely Doctor Who-ish kind of stuff for the last hour or so. There'll be more at some point in the future. Not sure when. We just drop them out when we feel like doing them. But yeah. If you want the inside skinny on it, then the only way to do that is to subscribe to the channel and to hit the little cloister bell so you get all the notifications. But that's it for this time. We'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
And let's hit this and then this.